Welcome to the Compile Podcast. This is the show where two programmers talk about anything and everything. My name is Nick Wu. I'm the show of this podcast. This week we are joined by Zack, one of my other good friends from uni, well, part of uni, and also playing in the same badminton team. So, Zack, how you doing?
Yeah, hi Nick. Yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having me. I'm doing well, and yeah, you're right. So we met a year ago in uni, and since then, I don't know, things has changed a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So to give a bit more context or some introduction, you started. You didn't start as a programmer. You started as a uh, well, I guess an engineer, right? Or physicist.
Oh well, I started as physicist. I don't know. Do you want me to give a short introduction?
Yeah, just whatever you like.
Okay, well, yeah. So, I was originally from China, and I came here when I was quite young. Or here, I'm in United Kingdom. And
Mm-hmm.
so I studied physics for my undergrad and did a couple of internships, which I feel like, oh yeah, programming is probably my thing. So then decided to do a master's in computer science in Edinburgh, and yeah, that's where I met you, and that's where I did my master's degrees, and now I'm working full time as a software developer for Amazon.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, and you're also based in London, so that's why we get to see each other, and for you to eat a lot in the
That's
office.
true. Oh my God. Like I really like to visit you because every
Yeah,
time I can just get 2 or 3 plates of food in Google for free,
yeah,
and
I see that.
such
Yeah,
good
this man is
value.
the. I've never seen anybody eat as much in the office as I've seen Zach the two times that he has been visiting. So yeah,
You know,
uh,
food. Yeah,
yeah, it's cool. I yeah, again, it's not my it's not it's not like I pay for it. So
yeah. Food waste is a big issue, and I'm just trying to solve this problem since Google always cook too much, right? Yeah,
yeah.
I'm there to clean up. Anyway, that's another topic.
Right. Yeah. Also, I missed this part of the intro. So, each episode will have a topic to discuss, and our goal of the show is to compile the topic down to a list of essential points for our listeners. Both of us will have our own list, so then we don't always have to agree on everything. So just to make sure, we will sort of pitch in a little bit. So before we go into the main topic, I want to do our usual speed run. This is a part of the show where I just fire off some short questions to our guests and get everybody to know each other a bit better. So Zach, I hope you're ready. There are a couple questions. I'm just gonna throw them at you one by one.
Yeah, fire away, man.
Okay. So question one. Most favorite programming language?
Oh, Python.
Python.
Oh,
Oh yeah. Oh
should I explain why? I guess I should.
yeah. I know what this is, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I used Python a lot. Like, for my entire undergraduate degree, we've been using Python for all the computation related stuff. So we did physics simulations, computational physics, and a lot of like stats and stuff like that, and they're all done in Python. So I get to know the language quite well. And yeah, and most importantly, I think I sort of see the beauty in language like Python, right? It's because in my mind, so I'm sort of idea person. So I really like to convert idea into code. And the best way, like I don't know, I don't want to worry about all the low level stuff. Be like, okay, like I need to make a new memory allocation and like pointers, this and that. I just want to convert my idea into logical code that can be executed, I suppose. And Python is really good at doing this, and also it does not require any. It doesn't require much effort. You can be a
Yeah.
really lazy programmer and you still write like decent Python code, and in the end,
Yeah.
it's like, this works.
I remember a fun episode where we were doing me and Zack and also Alex from a previous episode. All four of us actually were doing a programming competition from during uni, and
Yeah.
yeah, and we wrote something. I wrote something in Python, and I showed it to Zack, and he was like, "Oh, this is not, what's the word you use? Pythonic?"
This is
Or
not
like,
Pythonic. Yeah, come on. Pythonic
I've
is a
never heard
thing.
that word before, and it's yeah, that's burned into my memory now. So
Yeah, there's quite a few. I mean, for Python, there's quite a few things to get your head around, I guess. It's not,
mhm.
I don't know, like everything is iterator, stuff like that. It makes things, it's just a different perspective, how they
Yeah,
tackle this sort of thing, right? I bet
yeah, it's
Alex,
also,
sorry,
yeah, go ahead,
I bet Alex's favorite language is like C++ or something, right? He would be like
Oh yeah,
completely different.
you called it. Yeah, he said C or C plus plus. I remember.
Exactly. He's like the polar opposite of me. He just want to
Mhm.
dig deep in and uh find the tiny little optimization he can do and stuff like that. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not
that's
like that.
mhm. So is it safe to assume your answer for least favorite programming language will probably be something like C or C plus plus,
Uh I suppose, this is a tricky one.
or is there
Uh
anything you dislike even more?
I mean, okay, so C and C++, first of all, I don't like them, but I don't like them because they're not easy to learn. So I feel like
Yeah.
I don't have enough knowledge to make a judgment on this. So C, I think, is probably like when I was in high school, I did this course called CS50, and this is
Mhm.
like organized by like Harvard Online University or something. And
Yeah.
so they use C, right? And it's a really good way to introduce you to a lot of concept within, I don't know, operating systems and computers in general. So I don't know, since it's sort of like my first proper language, other than like Visual Basic or
Mhm.
whatever. So I have a feeling for it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think let's see. The thing I don't like is probably something like PHP, you know. So
Okay.
I had to maintain a website a long time ago, or
Yeah.
first year in uni, and yeah, I was like, why is web development so hard? Then then now I realize, oh, it's just they're using PHP. That's why.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Uh. Mhm. Yeah. In the previous episode, it has also been mentioned before. By John, one of my other friends from the US. He is actually pretty deep into web development, and
Mm,
yeah, he very specifically dislike PHP, which
yeah.
which I think is somewhat justified.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
feel him. I feel him, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, you know there is a pattern. So just throwing it out there.
It's the more new age developers and their
Yeah.
distaste towards the old stuff, I guess.
Right. Let's move on. Do you have a favorite operating system? Windows, Mac OS, Linux, or anything
Ooh.
else that I
Oh
missed?
man. Okay. So I have always been a Windows user.
Uh
Literally
huh.
for my entire life, like until the end of university.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, let me think. But okay, so when I started here working at Amazon, they gave me a Mac, so I had to learn Mac, and
Mm-hmm.
I see the I see the design choices, like some of the design choices in Mac, I kind of appreciate and I kind of like, but there's other
Mm-hmm.
things which I'm still not used to. Um, so right now I I'm going to say Windows just because I'm still like more familiar with Windows, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
I'm getting more and more liking Mac now, Mac OS. Especially so the one of the biggest pain with Mac OS, I think, is like the window management. I'm not sure if you encountered this, but basically like the whole Alt tab thing on Windows is like
Yeah.
something I miss a lot, because in Mac you have like Command tab, right? But that's switching between applications instead of Windows. So
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Okay.
So recently, this is actually the thing. Recently, I installed a software which allows me to do Command tab like Alt tab of Windows. So yeah, I got that experience of that Alt tab experience back, and now it feels more smooth, I suppose.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a very good point. I never actually realized it too much on myself because yeah, usually I only have one window for one application, so command tab is basically the
So
same.
yeah, so do you use Command tab, or do you use the what's called the not the notification, the what's the saying when you do three finger on the trackpad, then you push your
Oh
app
yeah, like the mission control.
mission
Yeah.
control, yeah.
Yeah. I don't use either, to be honest, because my I home well work I use a Linux, so
Oh,
that doesn't
fair.
work. At home I have the my mouse actually has have things configured, so it just it just jumps. So like one of the toggles literally swaps between applications and screens pretty easily. So
Oh, I see.
I
Yeah.
haven't quite encountered that problem. That's why I was like, oh, I actually never thought about that because I never seen it before. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to like just not use mouse slash trackpad at all, sort of thing.
mm,
Well,
yeah.
not if you're like web browsing or whatever, right? But like when I'm trying to switch between applications to programming or whatever, I'll try just
Hmm.
use keyboard because it's supposed to be more efficient, which is true,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
And
it is
yeah,
more
yeah.
efficient. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think the conclusion. So okay, first of all, Linux. I dislike Linux purely because the only experience I have with Linux is with our dice machines, and
Oh, okay.
yeah, and those
Yeah. So,
yeah those Apple
yeah,
dice machines, man.
I
It's
see.
just
Yeah.
not my thing. I don't know. I don't think that's applicable. It's not like it doesn't represent Linux as a whole, so I don't have much to say about Linux.
Uh, so for a little bit of more context, so the dice machines are the university uh, the computers we use in university labs. So those are run on Linux, and actually, I would say it's pretty much the same. It's a relatively same experience. You know, from a dice machine to like a standard Linux or standard Unix system. So if you don't like dice, then chances are you won't actually enjoy Unix that much or Linux that much. Yeah, but it's a it's an interesting uh, discussion I've had with a couple of my friends because you see people more inclined into tuning their every little details and they would like Linux. But if you go into I just want things to work, I don't need really worry about my OS configurations that much, then yeah, then you go to Mac or Windows.
Yeah, I agree. I think Mac is really good at just making things work out of box.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know, I have the homebrew stuff installed, then just do brew install some stuff, and it's just like bam, it's there, and you can run
Yeah.
it, right? And yeah, and I feel like it's a magic for me when you just have those like DMG or whatever file where
Mm-hmm.
you just
Yeah.
drag it over, and that's your application installed, man. Yeah,
Yeah.
that I agree. It's really amazing. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
overall, I think I sort of like a hybrid. So like I like Mac, but I want some Windows configurations on top.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
some customization that I'm using right now, and it's pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fairly good answer. Actually, we're running a bit behind in time, so
Oh, sorry.
let me just jump to the very last question. What would be your dream job if you have to pick one?
Okay, dream job, right? I think I like. Okay, so well, right now I can't say anything specific purely because I don't have enough knowledge. So,
Mm-hmm.
well, actually, I was gonna tell you about like my career plan, but it's not really.
Oh,
That's not really.
yeah, that.
I think the ultimate goal, what I want to do, is to maybe like start up my own business, and
Mm-hmm.
basically do something that um do something worthwhile, do something that changes the world a little
Yeah,
bit better. It's a bit cheesy,
yeah,
but you know what I mean, right? So
yeah. I know what you mean. Yeah,
yeah,
but
I
it's yeah, it's literally how a lot of the startup people that I've met that is their motivation because they wanted to make things better or make other people's lives easier or more enjoyable. So yeah, that's a I would say that's probably the best answer we've ever gotten. No disrespect to the previous guests. Yeah.
yes.
Mhm. Cool. So yeah, so hopefully that speed run was not much of a speed run. That
It was a
stream of
marathon.
questions
Yeah.
actually, yeah. Hopefully that get you guys to know Zach a little bit better. So let's go into this week's main topic, which is imposter syndrome. So you hear it
Yay.
mentioned everywhere, in the news, online, on YouTube, everywhere. So uh, I assume, well, just in case that people are not quite up to date with what it is. So imposter syndrome is in a feeling of inferiority, for lack of a better word. So you don't feel that you are worthy of whatever it is that you are having. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't feel you're worthy for your job, don't feel you're worthy for your life, for your significant other, whatever. Um, yeah, so it's essentially just feeling like I'm not as good, and I'm a fraud in in the office or whatever environment. And I think this actually resonates quite well with Zach because I'd imagine because you said you did your undergraduate in as a physicist and you came to Edinburgh to study computer science, which is not not too big of a jump, but it is a jump anyway. And
Yep.
have you felt anything close to like imposter syndrome, or like do you have any like stories that you want to share?
Yeah, actually, I think I felt um, I think I'm a prime sufferer of imposter syndrome. Okay, so even before Edinburgh, let's talk about me first joining uni.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that I had feelings that I shouldn't belong there. In a sense, so first of all, I did my undergrad in Imperial College, which I suppose is a fairly prestigious university,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, even just in the beginning, so maybe in like first year, I was thinking, oh, this is really hard, right? This is like this thing is like I'm not used to this. I can't really do this sort of thing, and I was literally thinking. I remember I was thinking, recalling about my interview to Imperial College, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and I was thinking, oh my god, maybe the interviewer was just nice, and the question just happened to be something I can answer, sort of thing, and I just got in as a, like by accident in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so So yeah, that's pretty much. I don't know. That's like my whole undergraduate. I can, like throughout my undergraduate, I was keep thinking about, like, oh my god, do I belong here, sort of thing? Because, I mean, I guess in the end, that like physics is not easy, right? And there's just a lot of things that you need to get your head around.
Mm-hmm.
So every time I get stuck, I'm just questioning myself. It's like, am I really doing this right? Am I in the right path? Should I move on to something else?
Mm.
So yeah, but in the end, I guess I got a decent grade. I got 2-1, but it's good enough for me to come to
Yeah.
Edinburgh, right? And yeah, so then again, it's like imposter syndrome 2.0 sort of thing, because like so physics to computer science, I guess it's not as big a jump as, if you choose some like humanity subject and then decide to do uh this sort of stuff. But it's still not easy. So first of all, what I realize is that most people, so when they come, they don't really do, like, I don't know how to say it. They don't do especially like very focused software development, like, yeah, like programming, right? So
Yeah, there's no specification to what sort of which part in computer science or informatics in our case, which specific branch are you going to be doing?
exactly.
So yeah, people just come in and yeah.
Yeah, people come in and they choose, some like math heavy subject. They choose like AI courses, they choose machine learning. They choose stuff which I suppose they know how to do, right? It's like math. Okay, that's like sort of like universal thing that everybody learned if you're a STEM student. And
Mm.
then I was just like, oh, this year I'm going to, go hardcore on programming, go hardcore on sort of like computer science, like basics, not basics, but like, like computer science related.
Fundamentals,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. So the courses I chose, they really don't have that much math. They are more just programming and straight sort of like software engineering, computer science related courses. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of practical stuff as well, and yeah,
Yeah,
that's another story, but it was painful.
yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, I chose these courses, and then I realized, oh my god, I'm competing with people who has already done computer science for like 3 or 4 years. Yeah, like
Mm-hmm.
like like
Mm-hmm.
Nick, like, oh my god, this kid goes to
Oh.
who went to Google like 3 times already, and they're like, what am I doing?
I got teased
Anyway.
a lot, yeah.
So yeah, so the whole time through that, I was suffering from, well, not suffering, I was experiencing imposter syndrome as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I don't know, so
Yeah, so yeah, so you did a hard you spent a hard time in your uh undergraduate to feel comfortable with physics, and just so and then when you moved to Edinburgh and you chose a lot of the computer sciencey classes, shall we say, and which basically means your math fundamental skills are not as applicable as they would be in some of our other courses like AI and machine learning.
yes.
So that just made you like um, even more difficult to move forward and understand the concept, and so yeah, that's definitely going to be hard. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the case, and um
Yeah.
I mean, in the end, I mean, I go through I go through the
Yeah, you got through.
masters, and
So
now I'm
well, I
working.
mean, you're at Amazon now, so you got through fine, mate.
Yeah, true. I mean, and now in Amazon, I'm sort of like, oh my god, am I supposed to be here? It's like,
This
yeah,
is
it's the
3.0, isn't it?
3.0, man. It's yeah. So I mean, so far, I mean, I'm picking up stuff. It's been 2 months since I first joined Amazon, and I think I'm picking stuff up slowly but
Mm-hmm.
surely, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
Yeah, not too bad, but still sort of like questioning myself about, like people seems to be so smart here, sort of thing. And at the same time, I'm just like a kid who doesn't really know much.
Mm.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely. I feel the same as well. Because
You
at this
do?
point, I've joined Google for about 2 months. Actually, almost exactly 2 months, because I started in early September and now it's November ish.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was hard because you thought you were smart but you weren't, and you were too afraid to ask people as well. And yeah, that's essentially what it is. Actually, um, that's something I want to pivot to, because I actually had this problem. Well, I didn't had this problem. I saw this problem before with one of my friends, and I actually wrote a little piece, uh, like a little article on my blog
Mm.
that sort of explains this. And uh, I didn't. I went back to read it this morning, and then I found myself like listing a very interesting example. So which I think will explain it more to everybody. So it's like
Sure.
this is what I wrote. I'm just gonna read it. Imagine you're at a party, standing in a circle of discussion. Really, you know all the people in the group, but just cannot understand what they were talking about, and you feel a bit embarrassed to ask. So you just listen quietly and then throw in a few. Oh, that's interesting. Uh, so after the party, when you're on your way home, you question your intelligence, and if you look stupid, if you ever look stupid at the party, and you end up hating yourself for just being an idiot. And if you've ever had that sort of feeling, you know, that's now you know what it is. It's imposter syndrome. And
Yeah.
yeah, so I guess this is quite common for everybody. So, but it's really important to understand why you would feel what you feel. So, imposter syndrome, and so this kind of things are really sort of based on your unfamiliarity with what's happening, or difficulty of grasping some sort of task or some sort of job. And also like a environmental pressure to not being able to ask anything, because you might look stupid and other people might judge you. So um, yeah, so I guess, Zach, do you have any sort of like uh thoughts on, you know when you feel these kind of things, do you think about like, oh, why am I feeling so bad? What's being triggering this problem? Uh,
Okay, well, I'm going to like rip up the script a bit and give you another perspective of,
mm-hmm,
I guess, how I view imposter syndrome. Okay,
mm-hmm,
so I'm basically the question. So this is something I saw about recently. The question I asked myself is like, is imposter syndrome really a bad thing?
mm-hmm.
So
Interesting.
okay, so how I view this is that so what is imposter syndrome? It is effectively that there's a knowledge gap between you and the environment or people
Yep.
surrounds you, right? This environment as a whole. And
Yep.
yeah, okay, so knowing that you have imposter syndrome, then then by uh, by deduction, you would know that you have a knowledge gap. And
Mm-hmm.
what I'm trying to do, and and this is, I suppose, how I deal with imposter syndrome, is that I want to, I sort of try to understand what this knowledge gap is, and
Mm-hmm.
then I break it down and see what I need to learn.
Right.
Yeah, see what I need to learn, see how can I improve. And yeah, this imposter syndrome. So I treat that as a sort of like a pressure, and that pressure is pushing me to improve myself.
Yeah, that's a
That's
very positive way to look at it. Yeah.
yeah, obviously you can't. I mean, on the other hand, you know, you can't really go over the top. So don't just. What I'm trying to do is to have the right balance of pressure. Yeah, it's like basically, okay, I'll be like, this is a knowledge gap, and I need to learn about this. I need to learn about this, and let me start working on this. But I don't need to feel too much pressure where I just feel like, oh, I don't know anything, sort of thing, which
Mhm.
obviously is not true. One, if I ever feel that, I always try to sort of look back and see how far I've gone. Yeah. So I
Okay.
sort of compare, like for example, right now I can compare with what how I was when I first joined Amazon.
Mhm.
Yeah, and like how much domain knowledge I've gained. In particular, actually, like it's surprisingly our team has it requires a lot of domain knowledge. Like apparently, we have the one of the most extreme number of services to maintain and the number of things that we need to know. So
Mhm.
yeah, and I'm just thinking like this 2 months I have been absorbing a lot of information and like see compare myself now to myself 2 months ago. It's like damn, you know, I've done a lot, man. So it's like yeah, that's what I tell myself at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great it's a couple of great tips. So I want to touch on something that you sort of mentioned. So you said, treat the don't treat it as a bad thing. So treat the pressure as a motivation that drives you to learn more, to work harder,
Yeah, exactly.
to be better. So I want to touch on something a little bit before that. Um, so it's like you feel from my experience, the strongest I felt with imposter syndrome was when I'm new to something. So
Yeah.
for example, when I just came to the uni, when I just joined the badminton team, or that's quite a lot actually. And or right now, as I just joined a new company as my first job, surrounded by other brilliant engineers. So these things are uh, for me, they always happen. They usually happen when I'm like in the unfamiliar environment, or I have a lot to take in. Um, so I think one thing that's important to realize is, um, when you are entering a new uh, when you're entering a new stage of your life, or entering a new position in your life, uh, it's objectively true that you will struggle,
Yeah.
because
Correct.
unless you're like picking things up super fast, even then you'll have a period where you don't know anything, because that's literally what you means. You don't know.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely will struggle. But it's the um, there's also something else where uh, you need to trust yourself and understand that eventually you will be better. You'll be good. You'll be okay. Because if you, it's kind of like what you described. So when you look back, so right now, for example, if I'm struggling on the job, I look back on uni, and I was like, oh, I was like, oh, I was a mess when I just started,
True.
and by the end of it, I actually got pretty good. So, that things come, like life goes on, and you just have to trust yourself that you will be all right, and that sort of psychological safety will actually be very important, because that just means, even if you have setbacks, you have frustrations, you have bad days, uh, in your mind, like if fundamentally you'll be all right, and you just that keeps you away from wanting to give up, which I've had to. Some of my friends have seen, like have had, and I have seen, because like there will be a point where some of my friends would be like, oh, it's actually um not this thing, this isn't happening, and we it's time to like give up, or like before it goes too ugly, or stuff like that. So there's something uh, you need to realize that you are very good. Like you'll do great things in life, and you'll be all right. And uh, just having that thought in your mind all the time, and that will push you away from wanting to give up. Because that's the bit that I've struggled with the most, and I think that little thought actually keep me keep me moving for quite a long time. So yeah, so that's something that I felt very strongly. Um, but like yeah, so for practical tips, as in like what sort of things you can do if you just stop and think about, like what Zach said, you just stop and think about I know I'm not good. I know I'm not as what I want to be, but what can I do to get there? Like what specific areas that do I need to work on so I can get there? And so you take a step back and we sort of reflect on yourself and decide, like, or it's not decide, more like figure out what you need to do, and just go do it. And yeah, yeah, you'll be fine.
Man, halfway through your speech, I was thinking, is this like a motivational speaker podcast or something?
Oh no.
It's like
Yeah,
you will do
yeah,
great, man. just believe in
yeah.
yourself,
So
and one day you'll be fine. Yeah.
yeah, it's I mean, it's work for me. So
Yeah, true. I mean, I think the important thing is to put things into perspective, right? And
hmm
there's like every day you don't really notice the difference between you today and tomorrow. And
yeah,
but
exactly.
but if you look back far enough, you can see how much you've come. And I
hmm
think it's worthwhile to, sometimes look back and just see, like, damn, I've worked a lot and I've walked so far.
hmm Yeah. That being said, I want to sort of bring up a point where when you have this sort of frustration, when you have this sort of anxiety, um, I found there are two, like from my experience, there are two ways to deal with it. One of them is you need to express it. You need to either talk to someone or write it out. I have a journal where I keep like just my daily sort of feelings. What I feel today, what I did today, what I want to do tomorrow. That little things like that. I make sure you save it in a place where you can go back to see. Oh, a week ago I was feeling this, but now I'm not as like a week, for example, a week ago I was feeling bad because my deadline is getting closer, and I'm not getting things done, and I still look stupid compared to like everybody else. And now when you look back, I say, I'm not actually that bad. So that just keeps things moving, and make sure you see your own progress. And uh, that's one thing that keeps you moving quite a lot. And if I don't, on the flip side, if I don't see any improvement, it was like I feel probably just as bad as like last week or last month. And that's okay. And keep moving. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
it'll get better. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. I mean, in the end, I think you should find the right balance, right? So if you feel really overwhelmed by this sort of feeling, then yeah, for sure, like do what you're saying, what Nick is saying, and what I don't know, find talk to your friends and stuff like that. I did that actually. I mean, I think like the first couple of weeks in Amazon, I was feeling a bit down. Then had
hmm
got a friend to get a drink or whatever, and it feels a lot
Oh yeah,
better afterwards.
I've seen your Instagram. I know what it is. I've seen the Instagram. Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
This is not the
Yeah.
right place to expose myself. Anyway,
Oh,
yeah, I think.
actually, I didn't see your Instagram. I saw your girlfriend's Instagram.
Oh, fair. Yeah, that's.
Because you don't have an Instagram. I don't know.
I
What am I supposed
I'm
to?
trying to post some stories and just slowly ease in. You know, if I
Mm.
yeah, I need to my first Instagram post has to be very good. I haven't found out. Yeah, it has to be like, man, like, you know, I post this, then like everybody follows me. That's the
Yeah.
that I'm still waiting for that moment.
when you have it, I'll make sure I go back to the YouTube video of this episode, link your Instagram, and then post it on. Check out Zack's Instagram. Now
Yeah,
it's live.
yeah, for sure. That's how I get famous. You know, I need you to advertise for me.
All right. Cool. Yeah. So that's something I actually want to talk to you about, which is like getting support, getting help from friends, or like some of the things. This actually leads to my point. Like these sort of things that oh, I'm feeling bad because I wasn't doing well at work and I wasn't doing as well at school. And these sort of things are people don't really like to bring them up, and it makes you seem very weak, and also like it just doesn't look good on yourself. So I've had this problem before, and I've seen other people have this problem before, um where we can't really bring ourselves to discuss these things because we feel we fear the consequences. Like, what if people are going to like if what if people judge me, and they're not necessarily gonna help, but they're more likely to judge me. So
Hmm.
why should I bring it up to like somebody
Okay.
else?
Well, I mean, I'm going to rip up the script a bit again. So
Mm-hmm.
I think for like friends are your friends because they are for this kind of things, right? In one
Mm-hmm.
aspect, is they deserve to be your friend only if they can truly listen to you and not judge you at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and they are supposed to be there for you when you're down. And if you can't really talk to someone about your feelings, about your insecurities, then I guess they are not really your true friend.
Mm.
I mean,
Yeah.
if
I mean,
does that make sense? Yeah, I think.
yeah. I guess the point I'm trying to make is like you know try to have like a safe zone where you can be vulnerable. Because
Sure.
I had this problem for a long time where I felt exactly what I just said, because like I know they are my friends, but I don't want to seem like weak
Ah,
in front of them,
okay.
and and uh and I just wouldn't say anything, and I keep everything uh bottled up, and in the end it wasn't good. So like in the end you have to like the thought process was like, you can hold on as long as you want, but like at some point you're gonna have to talk to someone. You can't take all of that negativity. You can't keep taking that sort of negativity. It's
Yeah,
like
exactly.
yeah,
You want to
it's
let
bad
it
for you.
out sometime, right? And
Yeah. So
I think the thing is that you know, don't hold it in. And the way of thinking, like, oh, they would think I'm weak, they would think I'm you know, insecure or whatever. That's I don't think that's true. I
hmm
think if nothing else, I think if you really talk about your feelings, if you really, you know, expose your vulnerability to someone you trust, it enhances the friendship, right? It
mm,
makes this relationship deeper. Yeah, there's a deeper
yeah.
meaning attached to it, and yeah, it makes people closer because you know, in their eyes, you are no longer someone who is just sort of like that everyday person who is like, you know, how are you, fine, that sort of person.
Mm,
You are
hmm
someone real and someone that would share thoughts and feelings with.
yeah.
So
Yeah, that's
yeah, I
actually a very
mean,
good point.
yeah, don't hold it back. Fine.
hmm Oh no, this
Yeah,
yeah,
go ahead.
this was a long time ago. This was like when I was like 17. No, not
Sure.
that long, but you know what I mean. Like, yeah.
Sure, yeah. I mean, in the end, I think you should just I don't know. It's good to talk to someone, and you would. I think people would know who they should talk to. There should be people, someone in their lives that they trust and they can talk to, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and if you can't really find anybody to talk to your parents. Your parents are you always fine.
yeah,
Like
true.
they will listen.
Or
Yeah,
or
they'll
talk
listen
to me.
you, and
I'm always
yeah,
here. Very
yeah, just yeah, find like I'll try to link Zack's like all social media, like his phone number, everything on the show notes, and then everybody call Zack and be
Yeah,
like,
just-
man, I'm feeling so bad. Can you offer like come up for a pint or something like that?
just not like address or
Yeah, like no, all of it, like address,
Oh, man.
your bank account
Bank
number,
account.
all of that, like
mother's maiden name, whatever. Yeah.
Cool. So I think we've sort of covered everything that I sort of wanted to cover. So let's go into our sort of compile corner. So this is
Oh,
the
exciting.
goal of the show, where we sort of condense everything we just talked about into a couple of essential points. So I'll let you have the wheel. Zack, do like, is there any sort of like big points that you want to reiterate?
Okay, well, I think the main point is just that imposter syndrome is not all bad. Yeah, don't treat it like a disease or like mental illness or whatever. Treat it as treat it as a double-edged sword, I suppose. So it gives you the pressure to constantly to allow you to constantly improve yourself, and but at the same time you have to manage it so that it doesn't overwhelm you.
Yeah.
Can I also add one more point? So
Yeah,
I'm going
sure.
to backtrack a bit. I think about the whole asking questions thing. Just I think don't be afraid to ask. I think people would be flattered if you ask them you ask them questions. One thing I would recommend though is to not ask the same question twice. If you ask something, try actually listen and learn it. Write it down or something. If you don't know how to do this, write it down, and then you don't have to ask again. And and I don't know, people. Then that's how you earn trust, right?
Yeah. Actually, I might do. That's actually a very interesting point. I might actually do an episode in the future just about like asking questions, because that's like one of the things that I felt was missing from the education and from what I've been told, and I actually had to learn this on the job, to like not only to know to ask questions, but how to ask questions, and like
that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. I think in education, people don't ask that much question. It's hard, right? It's like, oh, how do I ask my professor and sort of thing.
And even that it's not always the same when you're like in like an everyday situation, or like when you're at work. It's not the same as school, where you can be like just ask somebody a question, because like people have their things to worry about as well. They're not always it's an interesting topic that we should do another episode on. So
I mean,
maybe the same guest, so if it's available.
We'll see. I mean, for me, I've been asking questions since I joined Amazon, like every day to everybody, and people are not. I don't think people are annoyed. Maybe they're secretly annoyed at me, but they didn't show that.
Yeah.
So I think it's not a bad thing.
Yeah. Anything else to add, or you feel you covered it?
In terms of imposter syndrome, it's just that let it be your friend. Yeah, I think that's the thing.
Yeah. For me, I mean, there's not much to add from what Zack was saying. The one thing that I want to like stress again is, under like real sort of like understand that this is not because you are weak or you are not as good or anything. This like if you swap it to with anybody else, they will struggle as well. So this is like a it's not about you. It's because of this new environment. So
Yeah,
understanding that will you know takes the pressure off a little bit, because a lot of times what I feel is it's about me. It's because I wasn't good enough, and and sometimes it is true, and but realizing that in these situations they're not entirely on me. Some of it are also because of the circumstances, because I'm into this new place, and I don't I you can't fault me for not knowing things when I'm in a new place, right? You can fault me for not knowing things when I'm there for like a while, right? So you know that's just something to adjust in terms of in your mind, and I think doing that actually uh, releases the pressure quite a bit. So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so that's it for this week's episode. Before we sign off, we have a couple of small topics, or not topics, a couple of small parts. So this is pick of the week, and so Zach, do you have anything that you want to recommend to your audience? That something you've used before. Doesn't have to be tech. So for example, I in the past I've like recommended people drinking water. So that's just an example
That's
for
a
you.
good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I haven't prepared for this, but maybe okay. So I was talking about how to have some sort of like the Windows experience on Mac,
mm-hmm,
with the Alt tab,
mm-hmm,
and the program I use is called Context.
okay.
Yeah, and it has really powerful features with shortcuts, alt tabs, and like sidebars and stuff like that. So yeah, check that out, I
Yeah.
guess. Link
So the
link in the
Mac.
description, maybe.
Yeah. So it's the Mac app, right?
Yeah, it's a Mac app. Quite a
Okay. So
lightweight Mac app you can just install and play around with.
yeah, I'll make sure I find it and include it in the description so everybody can check it out. So the pick of the week is the Mac app. What's it called?
Context. Yeah.
Context. Where gives you some Windows like functionality in Mac. So for anybody that's transitioning, uh, from Windows to Mac OS, that there's something you want to check out.
Yeah.
So for me, I've been reading a really good book recently, which was suggested by my manager's manager. Uh, hold on, where is it? Shoot, I left it. I probably left it in the office. I think it's called the Philosophy of Software Engineering, or the Software Engineering
Ooh,
Philosophy.
fancy.
Um, yeah, it's actually quite fun. And to read it, because it some of the tips it gives are really applicable in my day-to-day jobs. So you literally happened to me one time where I read something one day, and then the following day I got to use it, and one of my teammates actually said, "Oh, that's a good use of whatever tip." So I won't spoil the book, so you can have a look.
Can
Um,
I think you should give us a tip. Just give us an
yeah,
example to keep
uh
audience like, oh my god, I want that book.
huh. Okay, so one more thing where let me see how I can phrase this. Yeah. So in when you're building backends,
Mm-hmm.
and every these days everybody is building microservices, and sometimes you need to handle exceptions thrown by one of your microservice. For example, your database service is like freaking out for some reason. So the exception handling, sometimes like the easiest way is just I will be if something I call throws, I will throw as well, right?
Mm, true.
And that could be the right use for some cases, for most cases, and but for some cases you actually want to uh, do some extra handling. For example, if if one of your subcores are throwing exceptions, but it's not technically it's not gonna fail your routine completely, then it might be a good approach to silence it. So you mask the exception, you throw a warning, and you handle it directly at your level. Because if you don't do that, if everybody's throwing, then that means your top level service, like your server, is gonna handle probably, I don't know, 150 different kinds of exceptions, and
Sure. Yeah.
you know, yeah. So reduce some sort of that little bit of pressure on your top level server actually helps quite a lot. And also, it makes you think about, oh, are these services actually essential to my course? And it sometimes leads you to refactor your code a bit better. So yeah.
Great.
That's one of the tips. Hopefully this is not too abstract. I don't know. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is our last bit. Is there anything you want to plug, or um, anything like your website or a YouTube channel or your Instagram, your infamous Instagram,
The
anything like that?
Instagram was nothing. I don't think so. I mean, I haven't got to a point where I can plug stuff yet.
Okay. Yeah. I mean,
one day,
that's
one
absolutely
day.
fine.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe plug something from Amazon. Anything new or like exciting we should know about?
Oh, you guys should watch The Man in the High Castle. It's the
Is that on
this,
Prime Video?
it's
right?
on Prime Video. Yeah,
Okay.
which I'm part of. So it's a great show about alternative history. So it talks about
Mhm.
what if the Nazis and Japanese won the Second World War, and yeah.
Okay.
So very interesting setting. Try the pilot episode. I think you'll like it.
Okay. I mean, I haven't checked it out, but yeah, at this point, I'll probably find. I have so many shows I need to watch. To be honest,
That's
like,
true.
it's been crazy.
Me too. Me too. I can feel you, man.
I have so many shows I need to watch. I still don't have an Netflix account, which is like crazy to some of my teammates. So.
Yeah, it's crazy to me.
Or the
Anyway.
Prime Video account. So yeah.
Oh, okay. That's even worse.
Yeah.
Oh man. No bias. No bias. What?
No, but yeah, maybe I'll find some time to do it. It's just recently I've been quite busy, which is why this episode was like 2 months delayed. So
Yeah, that's cool. Well,
so thank you very much, Zach, for sitting down with us. I know we're actually recording this on a Friday night, so you had a whole day to work. I hope you didn't feel too tired because of this.
No, it's okay. Thanks for having me.
All right, cool. So that's this week's episode. If you have any comments on we've talked about, you want to share anything, feel free to comment on the YouTube video or tweet at me directly. My tweet is in the my Twitter is in the description. If there's any topic you want us to discuss, or you want to come on to the show as a guest, definitely let me know. Tweet at me or send me emails, whatever. And hopefully I can get another episode out sort of soon. I don't know. So thank you very much for listening in, and we will see you in the next episode.
Bye bye.